Alright, so I messed up the first half of the video, so you don't get the complete breakdown, but I realized my mistake, and I can still show you most of the breakdown here. So I've already taken off the side panel, both of the side panels, the one that slides off and then the one that unscrews. This is the newest version of the PS5. This is the disc version here, so the motherboard's a lot smaller. This piece right here also comes off, which is not on the older model PS5s. So I'm just taking these screws out here. And like I was talking about before I realized I wasn't recording the first half, I am thinking about modding a PS5 console to actually have exactly one of these, one of the newest versions of the PS5, and I want to mod it, so I think I'm going to do that. I did it last year with an Xbox Series S. There was no black ones at the time. I don't know if there even is black ones still. I haven't looked. But I basically painted it black and threw LEDs inside of it, cut holes in it and everything like that. Gave it a name. It was something like Midnight Xbox, or no, it's called the Rave Box. That's what it was called. It's called the Rave Box. So, and then of course I promised I was gonna make more of those, and I didn't get around to it. So I think I'm gonna do a Rave Box version of the PS5. Let's be on the lookout for that if you see this video, because I think that one's gonna come out pretty cool, seeing how I like to cut holes and stuff. So alright, so this motherboard is a lot smaller than the previous models. As you can see here, this HDMI port was actually broken completely off, and it is missing a, I don't know if that's focused there, but it is missing a tracer on it as well too. So we're gonna go ahead and get that fixed up, and yeah, follow me along as I fix that, put a new tracer on there, and get a new port on there. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and put some flux around here, just to loosen up these feet. It looks like we're missing a capacitor on there too, so that tracer's actually ripped up a lot. I'll go ahead and show a close-up of that once I get these taken out. Now we're just heating it up. I have my heat gun set to 438, so it's 438 degrees Celsius. You can always play around with temperatures. This is just the best way that I found to do it. Alright, now that we got those feet out, we're going to go ahead and clear the solder out of the holes. Alright, now we're going to inspect this, see what the damage is here. Yeah, it looks like that tracer was pulled up there. We're going to go ahead and try to lay it down here. Hopefully it doesn't break off. If it does, that's fine though, because we see where it's going. Now I'm just going to scratch the top of it until copper is exposed. Maybe. What'd I do with my X-Acto? There it is. Okay, so it looks pretty weak. It's all right. I think we'll be good here still. Yeah. Once we get some solder on that, it'll hold a lot better. Alright, so let me show you a little bit closer here as to what I'm doing. So you can see this is the little pad that was ripped up there, and there's the copper exposed. So now that we see that, we can go ahead and put some of our solder on there, and then put a new tracer on there. Clean this up a little bit first. Now we'll put some flux on there. Grab our soldering iron here. Now we got new solder on there. I'm gonna go ahead and find the best way to retrace this. I think I'm gonna use a wider pad on this. No, I think I'm gonna use some small wire. Yeah, we're gonna use my super small wire. This wire is really handy. It's extremely small. Look at this. Super small, but this stuff works really good, so we're gonna go ahead and use this. It's actually pretty hard to cut though. It's the only downfall of it, and it's only hard to cut because it's so small, and my little wire cutters there are pretty beat up. So alright, now we're gonna go ahead and lay that down on there so we don't lose track of it. Perfect. Alright. Now that we've got that laying there, we're gonna go ahead and put our soldering iron on there. Just touch it. Alright, looks like it's connected. I'm just gonna put a little bit more solder on there so it holds a little better. Oop. Definitely not the easiest stuff to work with, but there we go. All right. So now that we got that on there, we can go ahead and clean it up a little bit more again. Just Just gonna wipe it away first. Make sure that's on there good. Yep. All right, now I'm gonna take some alcohol and clean that up. Get a new Q-tip here. All right, and I'm just gonna cut the end of this. We'll save that little wire for the next job. All right, now what we're gonna do with the end of this wire, we're gonna make sure that it doesn't move. We're gonna use the UV curable solder mask oil right here. We're gonna use this, and we're gonna use the UV light in order to fix this. You can use very little of this stuff. You don't need to use very much. We're just gonna touch it to the end, make sure it gets on the board and the wire, so you want it to be secured. All right, now we're gonna take our UV light and we're gonna make that cure there so that it doesn't move. All right, so here's my UV light. I get most of my stuff from China, just because it's a lot cheaper and it's still really good quality. So we're gonna go ahead and turn that on. And it's timed, so it'll automatically turn off. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and do it again, one more time. Excuse my shaking there. All right, now it should be nice and secured. We're gonna go ahead and make sure that it is real quick. All right, so it's nice and secured on there. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to clean this area up again. Just wipe it up a little bit, not really do too much to it. And once we have all that done, I'm gonna take my soldering iron here and just put a little bit of solder on that tracer. Like so. And now we can go ahead and grab a port, and we're going to pre-10 the pins on the back. so that when it goes on nice and easy. If we can get the ports out, there we go. Alright, so I'm just going to put some flux on the back of the port here. And then I'll use my soldering iron and put some solder on there real quick. Alright, so now we've got solder on those pins. We can go ahead and drop the port on there. Alright, make sure all the pins are sitting good. And now we're going to take a capacitor because the other one popped off. So we're going to go ahead and take one from a donor board. Put that on there. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and heat it up again. Place everything together. Alright, so you can see back here the capacitor is soldered on there. All those pins are soldered on, and the tracer is also soldered. Now we're going to put solder on the feet. Now people have different ways that they like to do this kind of stuff. This is my personal preference. I like to put solder on the actual feet themselves, and then I'll blow it upwards with the rework hot air gun. And it's okay if they're bridged like that, it causes no issues. So now we're going to go ahead and heat it back up. Push that solder through those feet hole. And then we're going to put pressure on the back of the port again, make sure it's held down, and let it cool. Alright, now that it's cooled down, we're going to go ahead and check those pins, make sure that everything is secured on there, and then we're going to put it back together and test it out. Alright, after checking the pins, everything was good to go. So we're going to go ahead and install this we're gonna put everything back together. So I have a feeling that nothing is wrong with it, so I don't feel like I need to test it. These newer ones, I'm able to do them a lot faster than the older models. Even though it has more parts, it has less screws, which is nice. Now I always put this little cable in here, the ribbon cable there, I put that one in before I put anything else together, because I've been notorious for not plugging that back in. And if you don't plug that back in, well, the lights don't work. So now that we have that on there, we can go ahead and put this aluminum here. So this one has a dual-sided heatsink, so it has a heatsink on top and on bottom, which is pretty nice. Doesn't have the overheating issues like the older models do. We're just gonna throw this guy back on here. So I like using a drill for this, if you haven't noticed. A lot of people use hand tools, and that takes too long. So I fix these in 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the damage. And I stand behind that. So I don't like to take forever and use little dainty hand tools in order to take all these screws out. Now if you do use one of these, you want to make sure that you have it on a low setting, because obviously you're not drilling these screws in, you're just putting them back in. Alright, now we need the antennas hooked back up here, and they're labeled on here, RB, RW, and FB and FW, so you know where white and black go on each side. And if you have a blue wire, then it's just, you know, it's blue for B, obviously. All right, and we're just gonna tape those back down. And unlike the older models, we are going to connect the disk drive now before we put on the side panel. Alright, now we can put the side panel on here and screw all those in. Drop the fan in, wire it through and plug it in. Then put the shield on. I don't know what this shield is for. Maybe it's just a cool factor or something. It doesn't really stop anything. Alright, and then we can put on the cover for the SSD. And then we'll tape it down. Pop the side panel on here. And we're good to go. Now we're gonna go test it and make sure it works. Alright, and here we are. Tracer damage, HDMI port missing, capacitor missing. We fixed it. Only at Reapers. Thanks for watching.